Hello, Mindsetters. Welcome to Learn Extra Live Science with Llewellyn. How are you, Llewellyn?
Like yourself, Kat.
Good,
Well.
thank you. I'm great.
Good.
I haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a week and a bit.
It's been a week and a bit, so
Week
it
and a
hasn't
bit.
really been that long. So welcome, guys. What are we doing today?
Environmental studies.
Awesome.
So you've done it before, so it's
Yeah.
a nice section. It's not
Okay,
something that they can
good.
get their marks in quite
Okay,
nicely.
that's awesome, Llewellyn. Thank you. You can prepare your board.
I'll see
So
you
you
now.
guys know how to get hold of us. We have our Facebook page, facebook.com/LearnExtra, and as well as our Twitter handle @LearnExtra. On these fields, you can join us for such a fun-filled lesson, guys. You can ask questions. You can maybe say your queries. You can tell me how your day went. You can do anything that you like to do on the page because the page is just for you. And today, during this life science lesson, we're going to be revising. We're going to be learning new stuff. So make sure that you call everyone that you need to call, your family included, your pets if you have any, because life science is life, guys. As it says, life science. So it's so relevant to what you do every day. And I hope that you guys are ready to enjoy what we're going to give you today. Over to you, Llewellyn.
Thanks, Kat. Your animals, I love it. I
Anything.
absolutely adore it. Brilliant. Bring your animals along. Well, it's actually quite a good thing that you spoke about animals because we're going to start off with environmental studies. And the nice part, well, the bad part we're going to start off with is the human influence on the environment. Because environmental studies is environment, which is where we live around, and then we're going to have a look at what's negative and what's positive and how we can help and how we can get rid of things. Right, so if I have a look at it, my first slide, I just started off with the world's in our hands, right? So we need to look after everything. And people might have messed it up, but it's our job as, I'm going to classify myself as a youngster. Kat, what about you?
You can do
Yeah,
that.
as us
I'm a
youngsters.
youngster too.
That's it. We must look after this world of ours, right? So we need to try our best, right? So the first thing you must understand that is with us, right? Through the years, we've got medicine and more food. We try farming more food and our medicine is improving. So what are we actually doing? We are actually stopping people from passing away, if you know what I'm trying to say. Which, in my case, I would say is a good thing. I don't know where we are now, but anyway, there we go. In my case, right, it's a good thing, right? I like my family to live as long as they possibly can. But in the olden days, we used to live for a lot shorter period of time. And if we live for a shorter period of time, then we can, when we have new babies, the population doesn't increase as much. So if we live longer and we have more babies, the population is going to increase and increase and increase. And if you think about it, the more people we have, the more space we have to take over to actually survive. Right. Okay, so as I said on the first slide, medicine is increasing, right? Agriculture is increasing, and the increasing of this makes everything, the population, just increase. And that means we're going to use more things, right? So if I had a look at it, these are years ago, right? 14,000 years ago, 1,400 years ago, 1,400 years ago, right? We started off very low, right, in billions. And if you have a look, as we're increasing through the years, look how we've just shot up to almost 6 billion, right, humans. That's a lot of people. Now, the Earth hasn't gotten bigger. We've just gotten more. And if you have a look at everything, we've spoken about things like carrying capacity and things like that. Now, a carrying capacity stops you from going over population, right? To overpopularize the Earth. Now, with us, we change it all the time, the carrying capacity. If we change a carrying capacity by, if this person's sick, they normally pass away or they normally die. We don't do that. We get them ready and we heal them and they come nice and fit and strong again. Right, that's what we do. And if there's not enough food, what do? We make more. And if we make more food, that means we can last longer. So we are changing the carrying capacity of the Earth, right? But are we actually doing that? The question is, are we doing that? It's not about, are we changing it? We are changing it. But how long can it survive? Right, so let's have a next look. When we, as humans, are getting more and more and more, we need more energy. I mean, think about it. Everybody wants electricity. Everybody wants to drive in the motor cars, right? So what do? We start using the natural resources. Now, your natural resources, right, are like oil. your oils and things like that, your natural resources. We start burning them up to make electricity. We burn coal. Some places burn oil for petrol. Well, we all use oil for petrol, but we burn all of those things. Now, first of all, burning them is a negative effect because now we're going to start putting sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, all those terrible chemicals in the atmosphere, right? And that's going to become harmful to us. So what I've done is, as you can see, natural resources, where does it actually come from? Yes, that's right, your fossils. If you have a look at it, it's your fossil fuels. There it is. Oh, as soon as I put a pen down, it's your fossil fuels, right? This is when, for example, your trees have fallen down, earth has covered it, it starts decomposing, and it starts making coal and all of that, right? And oil and that type of stuff, right? That is fossil fuels. Now, think about it. If it's a fossil fuel, if we use up all the fossil fuel, or we use some of the fossil fuel, they cannot be replaced. It takes millions of years to make this. It's not like sand, right? Or it's not like oxygen that can be taken in by us. We blow out carbon dioxide. The plants take in carbon dioxide and make new oxygen. It's not like that. This is not renewable. We can't make new ones of it. Once this is done, it's done. We cannot change it, right? So that's very important. So that is why we're looking for alternative ways of making petrol. That's why we have these solar power cars and stuff like that, so we don't have to damage the atmosphere and we don't have to use all our fossil fuels, right? That's the first thing. Second of all, if we start pushing these fossil fuels and all this rubbish up in the atmosphere, just have a look how nice this looks, huh? That is a beautiful sight, isn't it? Hey? Absolutely gorgeous sight. We have these big towers and we have these smoke billowing everywhere, and that is horrible. That is absolutely horrible. Now, don't get confused with some of the water towers, right? You will see that they'll blow out. If you have a look at these, this is like a darkish smoke, right? You get the water towers that blow out these big things of smoke, but it's white. That's actually water vapor, right? Those are still all right. It's this part, the carbon dioxide, the sulfur, that type of stuff that's damaging to our ozone layer, and it's going to create certain things that we're going to talk about later, right? Called a greenhouse effect and that. But if you have a look at that, that's horrible. You can actually look at that. If you come from a nice clean area, you come down and you can see all that smog and fog and all over the bad part. Well, not the bad parts, but I mean, normally where the cities are, you can actually see it, and it looks horrible. And we breathe that in all the time. That's disgusting. But anyway, so if we have a look at it, burning of the fossil fuels, as I was saying, we've got the three that we're going to have a look at. It is three. It's to produce carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and other greenhouse gases, right? What is a greenhouse gas? Okay, I'm going to explain to you how a greenhouse works. Now, you guys might get confused with certain terms about greenhouse and global warming and global cooling and all of those big things. I'll explain it now in detail so that you can understand what it means and you cannot get confused with it. Right, so carbon dioxide traps in heat. It's very simple. It traps in heat in the atmosphere, and this causes the whole Earth to start warming up. Now, if the Earth warms up, bad things are going to happen. It can either make it warm up or it can make it cool down. I'm going to show you now in a big diagram. This leads to disruption in weather patterns, so it can either make us get blistering hot or very cold. And remember, if a plant is used to being in a nice warm area and we make it blistering hot, what do you think is going to happen? Kat, what do you think will happen?
You tell me.
She's good. She's on form today. But anyway, if something is at very hot, right, and it's used to a warm temperature, do you not see that the plants like wilt if you don't give it water? And
yes,
have you seen that, Kat?
Yes,
It actually, the plant doesn't survive. So we're going to start destroying our plants and things like that, right? That is just because we've changed the weather pattern. What happens if it becomes too cold? If we start getting frost in areas that don't get frost, what happens to the plants? They die. Okay? So have you noticed how just by changing weather patterns, we're going to start, yes, I know I'm saying destroying the earth, but we are going to destroy it, but it might take a longer period of time, right? Now, let's have a look. It leads to destroying. We can get floods, right? Floods can happen. Floods happen all the time. If we start getting more rainfall than what this land can handle, the water's going to run off and start flooding everything, right? We're going to start getting droughts. If you don't get enough water, look how the farmers moan when they don't get enough water and it's getting so hot, right? We don't get food. If there's droughts, we don't get food. That's a problem for us, okay? So we need to start looking after this, right? And then the last thing, some weeds, you won't believe this, but some weeds, they actually thrive on a different temperature, right? So we bring in a weed over here. This plant is used to a warm temperature. This plant can do with a warmer temperature. All of a sudden, we do global warming, right? It starts getting hotter around here. This plant starts decreasing. It's not happy where it's growing, and this weed is just going crazy. And if it goes crazy, it starts sucking up all the water, sucking all the nutrients out of the ground. And what happens? This plant that's indigenous to South Africa or wherever we are just dies out, right? And that's not a good thing. Okay, I'm talking about all over the world. This happens everywhere. Okay, so now let's see. What is this thing called your greenhouse effect? That's what it is. Sorry. If you have a look at it, I don't want to make it too high. There we go. So what I've done is I've put in a couple of things here that actually give us the greenhouse effect, right? What is, we've got burning of fire. So you know you have a Sunday braai. Fire actually does it. You won't believe it. It creates carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a big thing, right? Next one, you get your CFC gases that messes around with the ozone layer, right? You get your car fumes, right? All that smoke that's coming out of your car and the burning of the oil or the petrol and all of that, very bad, right? And yeah, burning of all other things. All the gases and that create here is very bad. The fossil fuels, making that. The electricity, making electricity. We create smog and smoke and all of this stuff, and it's going to it blocks up the ozone. Now, if you have a look, we got this stuff coming out here in the front. So if you do this, you'll notice that, let me just change color because I know that it doesn't work that nice on this one. So if I take this, you see all the smoke and all of that coming through here, and you see the sun's rays coming in. Now, I remember this section when I was at school, right? When I was at school, I never got this section wrong, and don't ask me why. It just stuck into my brain. So let me help you out here. If I do this, and let's go down, and I've wiped that whole page down to the bottom, and we have a look at this. Okay, first of all, this earth of ours, right? I'm going to make a nice big land, and we're going to have some green pen going there. There's the land. We're all happy with that. You can see it's nice and green, right? And we've got the sun going up here. There's the sun. Very nice. And now, what happens with the sun? It produces two, let's say, streams of heat. Okay, streams of heat. It creates streams of heat coming down, and that one stream of heat hits the ground, and it shoots back up, and it goes back out into the atmosphere, but past the ozone layer, past everything. Okay, that's how it normally happens. Okay, so it comes in, it warms the earth a little bit, and it leaves the earth again. We happy? That's why it gets warm at night. That's why it's warm during the day and cold at night. Right, so that's nice and easy. Very easy. But now the problem comes in. This is where the problem comes in. Whereas if I start taking things like this smog, okay, so let's get some bad carbon dioxide and stuff like that over here. Right, we're having a nice little picture in this drawing over there. Right, so I take the sun rays, okay, and it comes in again. You see it sending one in, okay, and I'm going to bring it, the new one. It's going to come all the way in, it's going to bounce. It's going to come back off. So now it's heated the earth. Now it's time to leave again. Okay? It comes back up. It hits that. And what does it do? It bounces back. Now it starts heating the earth twice. That's including this coming down here. So now not only is this heating twice, but the sun's sending another one. So if you have a look at this, it starts warming up the earth. Okay? That is the problem we have. As soon as we have this carbon dioxide and this sulfur dioxide and all of that stuff in this part here, and it starts having this heat bounce off back onto Earth, right? It starts warming up the Earth too much, right? Not only that, if I do this and this sun is bringing it this way, right? It can hit there, it can either bounce completely off, or it'll only send half the amount of heat in, right? Half the amount of heat in. Which means what? It gets colder. It's not as warm as it used to be. So the minute it does it in both ways. It either stops it from coming in, or it keeps it in for good. And that is a big problem, okay? We cannot have this, because, as I said, some things thrive on it, some things don't. This is a very, very important thing. Now, the question that a lot of my boys always say to me is, or they always say, that global warming is the greenhouse effect. It's not. okay? Or they say the greenhouse effect is global warming. It's not, okay? Think about it carefully. Does this always make it warm? It doesn't. It can make it cool down a bit as well, okay? So think about it. This is just the reaction, this reaction of it bouncing on the earth, bouncing back and bouncing back onto the earth, that is the greenhouse effect. One of the causes of the greenhouse effect is the warming up of the earth, so it's global warming, okay? It can also be global cooling. You guys haven't heard of that one yet, global cooling. They've actually said, I've had a look, I've tried to find out, and I don't know where I've heard it, but I have heard of it before, where they said before every ice age, there was a global warming, which is quite cool. So it actually happened this as well, right? But what I'm trying to get at is the global warming is not the greenhouse effect. You don't see, if you are a good farmer, on the farmers, you'll notice they put that big tent up, right? That is a greenhouse. What happens is the sun comes in there and it stays in there, keeps it nice and warm. That doesn't mean that the earth is warming up because that's a greenhouse, okay? Greenhouse can cause global warming, okay? And if we have global warming, think about this one, this is bad. If we have global warming, you can heat up the ice caps, right? The ice caps start melting, we have more water, and now we start losing some of the land. So Cape Town, cheers, but that's going to happen to you. It's going to be gone. Right? Can you imagine that?
I can.
No Cape Town.
Sure. That would be not nice.
No, we don't have Durban anymore. We've only got Pietermaritzburg.
Imagine.
Pietermaritzburg and the sea. How cool is that?
Sure, yeah, that's cool because Pietermaritzburg is small anyway.
Yeah. Well,
sorry for all those who are from Pietermaritzburg.
I agree. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there for a few seconds, right? I just want you to think about it, right? Go have a cup of coffee, go get everything right, and I'll see you straight after the break. Kat?
Sure, thank you, Llewellyn. Guys, we're going to go for a really quick break. As Llewellyn said, get a cup of coffee or get a cold glass of water. Anyone you wish, whether it's the cooling part or the heating part, doesn't really matter. Just get back here on time. See you right after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. If you have just joined us, we are doing environmental studies here on Life Science with Learn Extra. And just a pass-by comment, our producer James is wearing a t-shirt that says global cooling. It's actually very cool. I want one of those. Hey, Llewellyn.
Well, if you're cool, you're cool.
And
What
it's
can
so
you do?
relevant to
It's
what
perfect.
we're doing today. It's like he knew when he was getting dressed that he
Exactly.
must wear this top.
Exactly.
Although the grade 11s don't have to worry about that section too much, do
No,
they?
it's normally just the global warming. They're
Okay.
more worried about global warming
Okay.
going on. I was just explaining something, making you a little bit smarter.
Yeah. And
Which I
always
expect.
good. Always good. It is the home of the brain.
That's it. Okay, so if I have a look at it, we've gone through this greenhouse effect, and hopefully you understand it because it's actually not that difficult, right? You guys can do this. This is very easy. Now, remember this stuff over here that we were talking about, this big rubbish, this big stuff. You know what I'm trying to say? All this greenhouse gases and all of that. Now, let's talk a little bit about that. Right. Now, if I have a look at it, okay, we're going to have a look at the first one, sulfur dioxide. Okay, we're just going to have a look at sulfur dioxide because sulfur dioxide is quite a horrible thing, right? Sulfur dioxide, it goes up in the air, right? It joins to water. Now, if it joins to water, it becomes a bit of a problem. We get that stuff called acid rain. Now, it destroys quite a bit. I mean, to us, no, we're not going to walk out and walk out into the open and get rained on and your face start melting. Can you imagine that? You see people's face start melting. It's not like that. Unless you have plastic surgery for Africa. So in other words, it's just plastic surgery everywhere and everything's done, including your skin. So you can't get plastic skin, so you're fine. So don't stress, right? So if I have a look at this, I've put it here. It gets put into the lakes. It starts raining into the lakes. It becomes a big problem. Now, what I've done is I've put these lovely pictures on, okay? That's what acid rain actually does, guys. You might not know it, but that is bad. First of all, I'm going to ignore this one at the moment because that is a piece of stone, right? It's just a marble structure. Let's have a look at this one here. Have a look. Can you see that those eggs don't look normal? I don't know if you can see that it doesn't look normal. It doesn't. It looks quite strange. It looks different. Their shells are actually a lot thinner. And if their shells are a lot thinner, you would actually be able to see through them. It actually damages the egg very, very badly. So all these animals or these birds that have their eggs lying out in the open, right, if the acid rain hits it, it starts destroying it. If the mother goes and sits on the eggs, what happens? They break. So there's the reproduction of that bird gone for that season, right? That's the first one. If you have a look at it, trees, look how bad what it does to trees. It starts stripping all the leaves off. It destroys the bark. It destroys the wood. It's very, very bad. And then, of course, to us, it is also very bad. It does burn your skin. Very slightly, but it can burn your skin, and it's not very nice. So a lot of people do hide from it all the time, but it's very poisonous to us. Right. So this acid rain thing is not a very nice thing. Then you go overseas, right? So you go to these nice, beautiful places where they got these big marble statues. You know, Kat, do you know these big marble statues, those nice ones? They're huge,
there's
right?
some at different malls and stuff.
That's it. Now, those there, if they are outside, right, and it starts raining and there's acid rain in this, just have a good look at this. That is a marble structure that is limestone. Okay, it's got to be limestone. Look at it. You cannot even see the face. The acid is actually eaten away the face. It eats the limestone away. So these guys that have spent millions on making this beautiful statue, right? It's a gorgeous statue. A lot of the time, a lot of the effort. If it can do this to limestone, can you imagine what it can do to us and living creatures? This is a piece of rock. This is a stone. Can you imagine what it will do to us? How
That's
terrible
scary,
is that?
hey?
It's horrible. I mean, half the hand's
Looks like
gone.
it has a skin disease or something.
Exactly. It's horrible. I feel so sorry for it. Not really.
Not
But
really,
anyway.
just dirty.
So now you've seen what it could do to limestone, right? That's a big thing. Okay, so if I have a look at the environmental things, deforestation. Now, how are we actually going to get rid of carbon dioxide? Now, remember, carbon dioxide was part of why are we always doing this? Let's get back there. Carbon dioxide on this thing, right? Just this carbon dioxide, it forms a layer. It helps with the greenhouse gases, right? So those greenhouse gases, these little greenhouse gases, we need to stop them. But we're so smart. We have more kids. And if there's more kids, Granny's still alive, and great-grandmother's still alive, and her mother is still alive. And we decide that I'm not staying with great-grandmom, right? She has her own house. Leave her alone. Then we got Granny that's staying in her own house. I'm not staying with her either. Mommy and Daddy are staying in this house, right? I'm big enough. I'm leaving. I'm going to my own house. I have kids, and my kids are big enough. They're going to their own house. So now everybody's got their own house. But I don't want to stay in this little thing this big. I want to stay on something nice and big and comfortable and nice, right? So I need to go get more land. If there's no more land left, well, let's cut down a tree. Let's make more land, right, Kat?
That is how it is.
The more land we have, the cooler it is. We have this nice big premises. It's stunning. It's not very good, actually. Right? More people we have, the more land we need. If we need more land, what's taking up the land? The trees. All the little, all the plants, all these things that are green that photosynthesize. Now, photosynthesis is actually the start of food. They make food. They make energy. That's the first problem. We're getting rid of that. Second problem, during photosynthesis, they take the carbon dioxide, so all the bad stuff that we have, all that bad stuff, and they take it in, and they bring out oxygen for us for us to breathe in, right? So that's a big thing. So let's just have a look at this, right? We're cutting down trees. The more we overpopulate this area, the more space we need. So let's just cut down the trees. And of course, nobody wants pine, right? Pine is a little, if you walk into these big mansions where rich people or people that have worked for them, I'm not saying rich people are bad. What I'm saying is they've earned their money, they've worked hard for it, they want a decent lounge suite, right? And they want to show these beautiful wood, right? There's stunning wood. Am I right or wrong? Stunning wood case, the steps, all of that beautiful. And they're not going to use pine because pine is not good. It's soft, right? So they use these beautiful, stunning hard woods that cost thousands to make, right? So they need to go cut down that tree. But that tree takes forever to grow, okay? So they have to cut it down to get it. That's a bit of a problem again. But you get what I'm trying to say. Right, so the deforestation is very bad, very, very bad. And if we carry on doing that, that's what it looks like. if we take down all the trees, that is what we're going to be left with. Now, a tree does a lot more photosynthesizing than a small little bush. Okay, we need the tree. It does more photosynthesis for a smaller area. And we need as much of this carbon dioxide gone as we possibly can. The more people we put on this earth, the more carbon dioxide we breathe out. The more carbon dioxide we use, the more sulfur dioxide we put out there. Okay, we need trees and things to get rid of it. Okay, so that's what happens. Deforestation, we just cut them down. We need to start looking after our trees. And you'll notice, so when these people are standing there and they're protesting, they don't want this tree cut down, that is so good. But don't go train yourself to a tree. I hope I'm saying it the right way.
Yeah, no. No tree. You can hug a tree, but don't be a tree hugger.
That's it. You can hug a tree, but I like that one. I must write that down.
I just made it up.
Nice. I like that. Right. So, deforestation. There's a couple of things for deforestation that we're going to have a look at. Right? The first one. Okay. First of all, if we're burning the wood, okay, if you burn the wood, we create more carbon in the air, carbon dioxide, right? Carbon dioxide in the air, anything that you burn, right, anytime you make fire, carbon dioxide goes in the air. So if we're trying to burn all this wood, more carbon dioxide. So not only are we killing the thing that is fixing the carbon dioxide, we're also making more by burning it, okay? That's firstly. Second of all, the less tree means less carbon dioxide gets changed into oxygen, which means there's less oxygen for us to breathe. Okay? Next one, if you take down the soil, okay, if you take down the trees and you pull them out of the ground, now the soil is just bare. Now, if you throw water on the soil, right, the topsoil, the most important soil out, the one that gives all the nutrients in that, they go into the water, and that water, as it's traveling, it's pulling all the topsoil away. Now, if it pulls all the topsoil away, there's no more nutrients in the ground, which means not even grass will grow. Nothing grows. So we start getting soil erosion. That's what soil erosion is. We're taking away all the good stuff out of the soil by water running over it and taking it somewhere else. Now, what actually happens with that is we actually take all that nice nutrients in that and we put it into the rivers or into the dams. Now, that's also a problem. We need to figure out what that is, and I'll do it in a few minutes. Especially if you also do science, you'll understand where I'm coming from. And it's a good thing if you listen for that, right? Okay? Now, also, when a plant takes up all the water out of the ground, right, it does its photosynthesis, and what does it let out? Oxygen and water vapor. It transpires. Now, when it transpires, that water droplets go up into the air. Okay, so it creates clouds and it creates more water for us. It rains and it's better for us. So what happens now, if we take away the trees, we can't transpire anymore. So that means no water, right? Is it making sense how bad it is cutting down a tree? Okay, next thing, many animals survive on trees. Okay, just think about it. Your monkeys and your baboons and all of these things, they live in trees. You cut down the trees, they've got no place to go. What about all the animals that, the insects that live in the barks of trees and all of that? You're destroying their home. And if you destroy their home, they're not gonna be able to live. They're gonna die. We're gonna make them extinct. An extinct animal is not very good. Right. So let's have a look. That was the last. I said we're getting extinct. So what I'm gonna do there, before we go on further, I'm gonna go on a little break. Right. This time, go to the bathroom. Bring your animal, bring your doggy and your cat and your bird, 'cause I love all those animals. Put them next to you. Let's carry on learning when you get back, guys. See you after the break.
Yeah, guys, we'll see you right after the break. In this break, you can ask any questions that you wish to ask. I know that there are some on the page. I will show Llewellyn them during the break, so when he comes back, he can cover it. See you right now. Welcome back, Mindsetters. Wow, what an awesome show it has been so far. So many questions and comments from you guys. Belinda said that, why don't we practice afforestation to save our planet? And Matsela says, maybe cutting down a tree needs to be illegal. I agree, guys. Maybe you guys, as a group, should go out and plant more trees. Or when you see people cutting down trees, tell them, hey, don't cut down that tree. because it causes A, B, and C. You can let them know, guys, if you're educated, then why not pass that education on to others? Because it really will make that slight difference to the planet. And you guys, it is your planet and it's your future. So make sure that you jump on that and let them know what is right and what is wrong, because they may not know.
Perfect. I like that.
Awesome.
One little thing though. We have got things called pine forest plantations, where they plant specific pine trees so that they can make specific things. So in that case, they clear this whole piece of land. It's not a big piece of land, it's a piece of land, and they clear that piece of land. So they grow the wood over here, right? And when these trees get big enough, they start planting trees over here. Then they cut these down, and then they take that to go harvest. They take all this out, and they put new trees in. So that's just for trees. So they keep planting new trees all the time, which is actually a good thing, because then we still get our wood, we can still have our paper, we can still have things like that, but it comes from managed plantations. We don't have to cut these beautiful things like your big baobab trees and things that have lived for thousands or millions of years, right? It's these trees that grow very quickly. Right, now, when we had a look at this, we had a look at the deforestation, right? Now, the next thing we're going to have a look at is things like what else affects this whole global warming, or should I say the environment. What destroys the environment, okay? Now, the first thing we got to understand is, have you noticed how I keep going back to the more people we have, the worse it becomes, right? So I'm not saying you shouldn't have a brother and a sister, right? I know they irritate you at times, but they do love you, right? Like I love my sisters, right? Now, so you must understand this. This is where it's coming from. If we go to the next slide, we're going to have a look at things called intensive farming. Now, this is the farming, if you know, this is the farming where they keep animals in cages. The reason why they do this is they start feeding it with a lot of things. They pump this animal full of things, because the more or the quicker it feeds it, the bigger this animal becomes. The bigger the animal becomes, the more food it provides. Okay? So if we have a look at it, if they do intensive farming, right, it provides a higher percentage yield. So in other words, in this little area here by us, right, we might be able to put 5 chickens, right? And then they're going to grow quite nicely. They're going to take a long time to grow, because they're going to pick out what they want to eat and so on. But if we do intensive farming, we fill this up with 1,000 chickens. 1,000 chickens over here, and they're all tightly packed together so that they don't move, and all they do is eat. They get big, they get fat, and they get sold for food, right? That's what it does. It gets more. First of all, that's what it does. It's more. If you have a look at it, many people regard it as being very, very cruel. Can you imagine standing, I don't know if you've ever been to a concert. Kat, have you been to a concert?
Yes, I have.
Can you imagine living your life in that concert area where everybody's standing next to you like this the whole time?
No, I can't imagine that.
Oh, it's bad.
I like my space.
It's terrible. It's
Yeah.
like being in a queues next to you, standing in the McDonald's on a Friday night. Can you imagine standing like that? All your life, every day, you sleep like that, you walk like that, you go to work like that. That's what it's like.
That's horrible.
That's terrible. That's why we say it's cruel. Right. So the first thing, it's very cruel. Okay. It gives a bigger yield of production. It makes more. Okay. The next thing, let's see what I was saying here. They need more fertilization to do it. Okay. Now, I was saying about ducks and all of this other things, right? I was talking about ducks and chickens and all of that. What about food? What about plants, right? Now, what these people do is they fertilize the ground, right? They take out the plant, they fertilize the ground, they put in new plants. Then they take out those plants and they fertilize the ground, and they keep fertilizing over and over again. So yes, they're fertilizing the ground. It makes this ground produce more crop. But after a while, it becomes a bit of a problem. Okay, becomes a bit of a problem, because now we've got to start putting in things like pesticides and stuff like that to protect this crop. Okay, and the next one, they're increasing the damage of the minerals. So the plant sucks up all the minerals out of the ground. So the more we use this ground, the worse it becomes. If you look at a lot of farmers, they farm in this area. They divide their land up in 4. They farm in this area. Then they move, next year they'll move on to that block. This block is left to grow, to recover and become good again. Then they move over. This block has learned to recover again. Then they move it over again. And they do it like that. So each one gets enough time to recover, so it gets its minerals back. Okay, that is a good farmer. That is natural farming. But when they use this block or all 4 blocks at the same time, all the time, and they just keep adding fertilizer, it becomes a bit of a problem. I'm going to explain to you now why it becomes a problem. But do you understand what I'm talking about, where it creates yield? So let's give you a picture and you can understand what I mean. Have a look at that. That is chickens. That is nice. Look how beautiful they are. And that is how they live for their whole life. Hey? Nice and packed. And in actual fact, this just means that there's a vacancy for a couple of more. If you look right in front, there's a bit of vacancy. We can add a couple of more 100 chicks in there and we'll be cool and we'll be fine. Right? So that is what intensive farming is. It means they fill it up as much as possible. And they all just get these little bowls and they eat. That's it. And if you're not good enough, if you weigh a certain amount, off to the farm, you're going to go get your head chopped off and let's eat him for breakfast. For supper. That's what it's like. It's nice, isn't it? It's terrible. You know, I love my animals. I don't like seeing things like this. Right. So, if we have a look at it. Problems with fertilizations. Now, fertilization is quite cool, right? Your mom does it. I know if you're at school, the groundsman does it. My groundsman is very good at my school. He's very good at this, at the things, right? What he does is he puts his fertilizer on, but he's very clever. He looks after it very nicely. But some people, they add fertilizer and they keep adding fertilizer and they keep adding fertilizer. And the problem with this, too much of this fertilizer is actually bad. Because what happens is they put fertilizer and then they put water, right? And they put more fertilizer and they put more water. And this water is going to sink down into the water table at the bottom, right? Because there's always water at the bottom of the ground, and it runs off to our rivers. And if it gets to our rivers, I'm just going to move this through. If it comes down to our rivers, if I can just get back to there, if it comes back to our rivers, we have a little bit of a problem, okay? Because yes, remember that you had that erosion, the soil erosion, so that goes into the river, right? So that's a nice bed of ground, right? Then we start adding this fertilizer that comes in. What do you think is going to happen to those plants that is in that river? Okay, those plants are going to become beautiful. Am I right, Kat? It's going to become beautiful. All the minerals, stunning soil, it's going to become beautiful. But if there's a lot of fertilizer in there and it's good soil, what are they going to start doing? They're going to start fighting for space, right? If you understand what I'm saying. Start fighting for space. So if I want more space and I'm growing nice and big, this guy that's next to me as a plant, he's not doing too well. I'm going to cover him. I'm going to take over all the sunlight. So what's going to happen to him? He's going to die. So if he dies, what gets him back? What gets rid of his body? Let's see if you remember. What gets rid of his body? I hope you have thought about it, because I'm gonna carry on. It's called a bacteria. Okay, that bacteria starts breaking down that body. And remember, if he breaks down that body, what is he giving off? He's giving off carbon dioxide. Okay, so the more carbon dioxide that gets given off, the more plants that are going to die. And the more plants that die, the more bacteria there is. The more bacteria there is, the more it takes up more oxygen, right? Have you noticed how I'm taking all the oxygen out of the water now? And I'm just giving off carbon dioxide. So in the beginning, it started off with, yes, this is beautiful. We got stunning fertilizers, good soil, and we're going to grow nice and strong. But after a while, something's going to die. And as soon as this plant dies, the bacteria are going to eat that. In the beginning, it's fine. Things die, bacteria come. But remember, fertilization means I'm going to grow quickly. Okay? So it grows even quicker, more plants die. And as soon as the plants start dying, what happens to the animals? The animals start dying. The animals start dying. So if the animals start dying, now we've got more bacteria. Okay? The more bacteria, the more we take out the oxygen in the water. Okay? And if that oxygen gets taken out of the water, everything dies. Now, you must go have a look at it. It even happens in the ocean. Happens in the ocean, in the sea. There's dead spots in the sea all over the world. Okay? That means no fish are found there. No plants are found there. Okay? That system, can you think what that system is called? What happens when bacteria take off all the oxygen out of the water and just replace it with carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide, a bad thing again, remember? There's one animal that can swim in these, they call it oxygen-free zones in the ocean, is a shark. Because a shark stores oxygen, which is amazing, inside its muscles. That's quite cool, hey?
That is really
That is cool. Okay, this whole thing here, I've made sure that I try to keep it undercover, but I'm going to let you have it. Science, you should know what I'm talking about. You should understand it. It's very easy. Okay? You ready for the word? Eutrophication. Okay? It's a big word. They like it. You need to know what that is. The bacteria first starts off nice and strong and solid, and the bacteria, something dies, the bacteria goes on it. These keep on growing, more things die, and more things die. Now, if I have a look at it, I know I've got a picture. I made sure I got a picture for you guys. Look at this. Look at this. Let's go down to the bottom one first. Look how green it is. Have you noticed how green it is? It's nice, it's green, it's beautiful. Just this bottom picture. Now, that is too much fertilizer in the water, right? So if there's too much fertilizer in the water, that's what happens. It gets nice and green, it's stunning, it's beautiful. But after a while, you see how underneath that top layer, those things are going to die. The bacteria start breaking it down, produce carbon dioxide, and the more carbon dioxide that gets produced, the less oxygen gets made, and that's what we end up with. See how all the fish start dying? And that is a big problem. That's eutrophication. That's because of us putting fertilizer in the water. We're making the plants in the water grow too much, too quickly. It kills fish. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I hope that you understand what eutrophication is. It's a very, very bad thing, but it's a big word that they're going to ask you questions for in any test. I always ask that for some reason. I love that big word. Okay? So that is what eutrophication is. Okay? I hope you understand it. Now, let's carry on. Okay? Pesticides. Pesticides farmers use as well. Because who wants you... I don't want to get this big apple with a worm inside it. Right. That's not nice. I mean, what's the worst thing about finding a worm in your apple? Cat?
That you might bite into it?
Oh, it's only finding half a worm in your apple. Hope that helps you.
That is disgusting.
So, pesticides, we put pesticides on for a reason. We want these things nice and whole, and we don't want to destroy them, right? But pesticides are actually bad. Okay, they wash out and they go into the rivers. Here we go with rivers again. Farmers, they always put pesticides on, and I'd rather have my apple nice and whole. Please don't get me wrong. But pesticides, too much of it, goes into the ground, goes into the river, and now we start affecting certain animals. Now, you would think, oh, it's not that bad. It really isn't that bad. Now, let's have a look at this. This actually ends up in the food chain. It becomes that bad, right? So what I'm going to do is I've got a nice picture, okay? In 1960, DDT, this stuff here, definitely, I want you to remember this, DDT. You don't have to know what it is. The DDT was a very bad pesticide. Very bad pesticide. What actually happened is the DDT started going into the rivers, right? And I've got a whole food chain to show you. And what it affected at the end, was the birds. Not the fish or anything like that. It affects the birds. And my wife's favorite bird is, of course, the fish eagle, right? There he is. But have a look at those fish eagles. Look how bad they look, right? Those fish eagles got DDT and they died, which is not very nice, right? So if I have a look at it, this food chain. So what I've done is I've started off over here. Now, this is how it actually works, okay? We got plankton. Plankton is divided into two things. You get your plant plankton and your animal plankton, right? So your plankton starts taking up this DDT, but it takes very, very, very little. It takes a very little bit amount, right? Okay? Now, it only needs a little bit of food. So it eats some of this DDT, right? This guy over here, so that is the plant. That's where it starts. So that is one, okay? It starts there. He takes a very little bit in, okay? Number two is your animal plankton. The animal plankton goes and eats the plant plankton, okay? Now, if he's got, let's say he's got 5 mils, right? Milliliters. No, just 5 m. That's fine, right? We get to this animal plankton, right? He's going to eat double the amount of that. So he's going to eat 2 of those, okay? So it's going to be 10 m, right? This fish is nice and big. He eats this animal plankton, and he always eats double the amount of that. So he's got to, because he's a bigger body, he's got to eat twice the amount of that thing, and this thing's got to eat twice the amount of that thing. So now we're going to get to 20 M, right? You're all understanding how I'm getting this? Bigger fish start eating the smaller fish, double the amount again. So we're going to go to 40 M's. You all with me? Now look at the bird. The bird at the end is going to take 2 fish at a time, or 3 fish. It might fish now, and it'll fish late in the afternoon, but it takes 2 of them. So he ends up with 80 M. Well, should I say 80 M? Now, if I have a look at that, the first few bit will not kill you. The first few doesn't kill any of the animals. But as soon as you go over a certain amount, it becomes poisonous. I mean, think about it. If you take headache tablets, for instance, I think it's headache tablets, I'm guessing, or a muscle relaxant. Let's say a muscle relaxant, okay? You've got a certain dose. A small amount of that dose is not going to do anything. The middle amount of dose is going to help your muscles relax. You're not going to be a sore after sport or whatever, but you've got to get it prescribed from a doctor. If you take too much of that, we're going to relax all muscles. Then we're going to die. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is exactly what happened here. Very bad. DDT, that's what it did. It started killing the birds because it wouldn't affect anything else because it was not strong enough. But the minute you start getting too much of it, the birds start dying. And so far, every year that I've seen, any papers around, they always mention DDT. This is what it looks like. DDT. Don't forget it. Okay, so don't forget it. Now, what I've done is, what can we do? How can we help? Very easy. Very, very easy. Okay? Organic farming. That's what it looks like. Let them free. Let them do what they want. Okay? If they do what they want, the eggs are bigger. The poultry or the meat is actually much nicer. Right? The eggs, shells, I actually spoke to my mother-in-law about this, but the eggshell was actually white. It never used to be this creamy color, so that's quite nice. The eggshells used to be very white. Okay? That's the first thing we can look at, is going organic. Okay? Next thing, biological control. So don't use pesticides. What do we want to use? Let's just get back to there. I just got to find it. There we go. Sorry, I'm going mad today. But if you have a look at it, why use DDT when we can use animals that eat the pests? Okay, here we've got a nice animal that eats a pest. There we go. Okay, very easy. Very, very easy. That eats pests. Okay, now, if I have a look at it, use different sources of energy. We've got wind, we've got water, solar panels. There's a lot we can use. There really is. There is a lot we can use. Okay? And how do we start it? Look after our wildlife. If we look after our wildlife, we'll be perfectly fine. Okay? If you look after it, if I look after it, we stop getting these things extinct. We can start getting money into the country. We can look after everything. And our country or our land will be beautiful. We've only got one of it. Okay? And if we look after it, it's going to be perfect. Okay? That is humans. The more humans we are, the more human, should I say, we are inside, the better it is for us one day, okay, and for our kids. So, I hope I've helped you, and you must have a lovely day. And I will see you next week, Wednesday, so stay tuned, and we'll take this environmental studies a little bit further.
Llewellyn,
Right.
before you say bye,
Yes.
Teddy asks, what does DDT actually stand for?
It's a huge word. It's just it's a type of, I'm trying to think now. It's a pesticide, but they always say DDT. I cannot remember the huge big words. We don't really need to know it. We just know DDT. They'll always put in your things DDT, and they'll put in brackets maybe what the word means. Okay, so you don't have to know this is it. Okay, but I will find out and I'll remember, and I'll tell you next week, because I really don't, offhand, I'll never remember.
That's perfect. And that means that you guys just need to plant it in your head that it is DDT. Thank you guys for enjoying such an awesome show. I also enjoyed it, and I hope you guys actually learn more after this because it's such an important section. And of course, some great marks come out of it. So make sure that you study it really hard because it will help you in the long run, especially because you guys are writing those exams that will take you to next year and of course for university. So make sure that you study this because it's so important, guys. From me and Llewellyn, bye-bye.